have you seen as, or what did you see as the biggest hurdles and opportunities as having launched a new lender during the middle of a global pandemic?
Well, I think, some of the challenges certainly have been around, just having personal contact with the brokers and the intermediary market, given obviously that, we've been locked down, we've not been able to meet, and, normally the events and the types of activities that take place where, you feel really comfortable spreading the word, those don't exist at the moment. So, I mean, we've been lucky though with, platforms like this where we can have webinars, we can have Zoom calls. I did a training call with an organization a couple of weeks ago, and it, that's obviously the way that we can spread the message. So that's been very useful, just using the technology, and then obviously being able to reach out to the intermediary market through the trade media has been very successful for us. Our launch in November was greatly received, and so those are the sort of things that we will continue to use in these times. And I think in terms of the opportunities, obviously, the property market's still very buoyant, but I pick up now many more indications that valuations, pricing is changing quite frequently. So a deal doesn't get closed because the value of the property has fallen, and suddenly there's a shortfall and there's a need to catch up or plug a gap. Maybe it's 100 grand, maybe it's another opportunity for us to then work with the intermediary to then plug those gaps. So that's where we really see those opportunities, but certainly in the property space. I mean, you've got things like the stamp duty holidays going to end at some point, and then all of a sudden people who have not been factoring that into their calculations are potentially going to have another hurdle to cross where we feel we can help. So really those are certainly the opportunities for us, and I'll be glad obviously to get back to sort of pressing the flesh as well.
Out of interest, what was the thought process behind launching the new lender and heading it up?
Well, we had always intended to launch the business and this arm of the business, which is to focus on the intermediary market. Obviously, COVID and stuff that happened sort of late summer did have some impact on our initial timing. And then ultimately, we were going to release the week before, but it was the presidential election. And we felt, we weren't going to be newsworthy enough to compete against that. So we held it off a little bit longer.
Fair enough. And obviously we've entered our third national lockdown. How has this or hasn't it impacted your lending appetite?
Well, we're quite fortunate actually that irrespective of sort of the economic circumstances, people always need money. And, maybe the timing of that money has changed a little bit over the recent months, but deals are always getting done and people are always looking for the next opportunity. And that's where we felt confident that it's not impacting on our market. And the important thing for us is we are backed by some very great investors who've got a good appetite to lend. I mean, when we sit and have our board calls, they're actually asking, well, how can we do more? How can we do more? So there's certainly not been any kind of withdrawal of appetite from our investors, and that's translating through in terms of our approach. So we're actually, uber keen to do more all the time.
And what would you say are your key USPs in the market? We've had a few new entrants over the last few years. And why should a broker have your products in their toolkit, along with the more standard property-backed suite of bridging lenders?
Well, I think the thing for us is, obviously, we're not lending on bricks and mortar, so we are not tied into that marketplace. We lend against luxury assets. There's been a long history of people building up asset wealth over time, but not necessarily cash rich. And so to be able to leverage those assets is a clear USP for us. And we can turn things around very quickly. So once we have an understanding of the asset and its market value, we can lend. And so that time frame is very short. I think the other thing is for brokers as well, they don't have to really do a lot. They can bring us a lead and we can take over. So all we'll do is just keep them in the loop with information, but they don't have to worry about, well, what's the valuation and what's the process for that? How do we do the logistics? Well, where's the item going to be stored? We take care of all of those components. And obviously we work with professionals in the industry that look after, luxury classic cars, fine art collections, fine wine, jewelry and high-end watches. So we've already got all of that, all those bases covered. And then I guess the final thing is, we pay our commissions out promptly. We pay everything at the beginning. There's only a 14-day cooling off period, and then we're paying out. So all of those factors really suit a broker. They don't have to do much. They get paid, and we're something different for them to add into their mix. So it's always good to have, in their toolkit.
And you mentioned there as well, there's been a long history of people building up asset wealth over a period of time. Do you've claimed that the need for alternative source of borrowing, not reliant on bricks and mortar, is stronger than ever. So do you think that this is causing a demand that people are building up these assets, and why do you think this is the case?
Well, I think when you talk about high net worth individuals who are more sophisticated and probably have a higher degree of risk in terms of the transactions they take and the decisions they make, I think those kind of clients are more suited to our product. I think they're also the people that do build up these asset wealth. Typically we do get entrepreneurs and younger individuals, but normally it's somebody that's probably in their at least mid-30s, where they've accumulated, an art collection, fine wine, classic car, etc., or a luxury car. And so we want to tap into that market space in particular. And I think obviously in terms of property, they normally are always associated with high value property and portfolios. And so when you look at those kinds of clients, they typically have £1 million plus property. And that's obviously the sort of market that we're going after.
Out of interest, what's been the most interesting asset that you've seen or lent against since launching?
Well, we've done a very high-end 3-carat diamond ring quite recently, which was a £100,000 loan on a £175,000 ring. We're currently looking at a £1 million Lamborghini. We've had an art collection worth $30 million, but it's probably a bit too rich for us in that one. But we do get some very exciting stuff coming across our door very regularly. So that's why it's great that we're getting these opportunities, and they're predominantly coming via the property broker market at the moment.
Has the valuation process changed at all from your side on assets? Because obviously we've seen big changes in the market on the property side of how valuations can proceed, and also just the kind of nervousness around valuations. What's it like on the asset side?
Well, and I'm talking to one of my colleagues about this recently. There's been a change, obviously. Typically, auction houses are the main source of luxury asset valuations. And so where their sales have moved away from a people-orientated base, they've just translated into more of an online activity. So what they're saying is appetite is still there, and therefore at the very high end of the market doesn't seem to have had any real impact at all. It's probably impacted towards the middle and the lower end of the market a little bit, but obviously we take a number of data points to make our decisions on valuation, so that we're not tied into one particular source and or one particular route to market if we do need to ultimately sell. So we obviously protect our own interests in that respect as well. I suppose the only thing that's taking a slightly longer now is if we have to go and do something in person, because obviously the limitations in the current lockdown environment. But other than that, we've been very successful at continuing to get solid valuations on our items.
I was going to ask as well, how does your previous experience lend itself to your new role heading up the lender, and what are your main ambitions for the business this year?
So I worked for the luxury asset lender Borrow for 9 years, where I headed up their UK operations. And then during 2012 to 2014, I went across and launched and ran their business in New York. And so obviously based on that experience in particular, I clearly understand the luxury asset markets and obviously the products and services that we offer. I think as well, when I came back to the UK in 2015, I was also personally responsible for sort of the top 20% of clients on the book as well, managing those relationships myself and broking deals and working with intermediaries to receive new business during that time frame as well. So obviously I've got a lot of background in luxury asset lending over the last 10 years. Mm-hmm. In terms of your question, in terms of sort of this year, I think my main goal really is to grow our loan book. That's the most important thing now for us, and obviously to grow the team within that. As we grow, I want to take on more account managers, more business development managers, to obviously grow our reach further, to obviously capture more and more opportunities. So that's really our goal: grow the book and grow the team. Are you
able to share any figures there on what you'd like the loan book to look like at the end of the year?
Well, I think realistically, obviously starting from a standing point, it's very difficult to predict exactly where you're going to come. If we were 5 years into a business, I'd say, I want 20% growth, and that's this figure. I mean, yeah, we could smash out of the park and we could be up 5,000%. We could be up 100%. It's very difficult really to put a figure to it, but I'd certainly want to be in the 2 to 5 million range in terms of our loan book.
And what one thing does the industry not know about you or Suros Capital?
Well, this was an interesting one, because obviously people are probably going to say, well, where did you get the name from and stuff like that? And we didn't really have a pre-prescribed idea. The only thing I can say is if you look up Suros in Google Translate, you'll get Suros, which is Catalan for corks. And so what we decided was, well, that's a good analogy. We're going to be the cork that plugs the gap in the property broker market space. So that's
I didn't know that.
I know, that was the best answer I could come up with.
What about you personally? What does the industry not know about you?
So I am big into American football. Okay. I used to play as a lad, and I played for probably across 10, 15 years. I then got into coaching. So I was coaching over in Cambridgeshire and in Hertfordshire. And so, yeah, I've been involved in American football, either playing, coaching or watching for well over 30 years now.
Amazing.
So that's my passion, yeah.
What American football team do you support?
So I'm a San Francisco 49er fan. They made it to the Super Bowl last year and they lost, but I was really pleased about that. This year, they've not done very well. And in fact, they probably propped up the bottom of their division. And the team that beat them in the Super Bowl last year is also in the Super Bowl this year, the Kansas City Chiefs. And they're playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the story behind them is their quarterback is Tom Brady, who was at the New England Patriots for 10 years. This is his 10th Super Bowl visit. So you've got like one of the all-time best versus the new up-and-comer. But I don't particularly like either team, so I'm just going to be quite neutral on this one.